crystal, he said. Let's go ahead and look at the side there. It says Willie's experiment. He used a very small lens opening which let only a little light reach the negative, but he kept the lens open for several seconds, up to a minute and a half. He learned too that he could make the snow crystals show more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negatives around the crystals. This etching meant hours of work for each photograph, but Willie didn't mind. So let's go ahead and summarize the method that Willie used to photograph snowflakes successfully. Let's go ahead and memorize that. Can you guys memorize that? Remember something, we're putting it into our own words. Well, he let only a small amount of light reach the negative by using a very small lens opening. He kept the lens open for a long time, and on the negative he cut away the dark parts around the crystals. So with that being said, we can say that the main idea here is that Willie photographed snowflakes by using special settings, long exposure times, and a trimming technique. Okay, so that's the main idea. So what are the details that support that? Well, we know that he used a small lens opening. Okay. We know that he kept the lens open a long time. And we also know that he cut away dark parts of the negative. Let's continue to read. But in those days, no one cared. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow. Snow in Vermont is as common as dirt, they said. We don't need pictures. Willie said the photographs would be his gift to the world. And while other farmers sat by the fire or rode town with their horse and sleigh, Willie studied snowstorms. He stood at the shed door and held out a black tray to catch the snowflakes. And when he found only jumbled, broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again. Let's look on the side of 388. It says the best snowstorm of his life occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the 2-day storm, and he called the storm a gift from King Winter. Now he waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray of snow, it would melt. If he twitched a muscle as he held the snow crystal on the long wooden peg of snowflake would break. He had to work fast or the snowflake would evaporate before he could slide it into place and take its picture. Some winters he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures. In some winters he made hundreds. Let's go ahead and summarize how Willie would capture and photograph his snow crystals. We want to make sure we include only the important information. Well, Willie stood at the shed door to catch the snowflakes on a black tray. He used a wood pick to slide the snowflakes into place under the microscope. He had to be very careful and quick because otherwise the snowflake would melt, it would break, or it would evaporate. Now, Willie so loved the beauty of nature, he took pictures in all seasons. In summer, his nieces and nephews rubbed coat hangers with sticky pitch from spruce trees. Then Willie would use them to pick up spider webs, jeweled with water drops, and take their picture. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper to a flower so he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. Now, Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse that Willie shared with his brother Charlie. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with them. How would you summarize Willie's approach to photograph unusual or difficult subjects? Well, Willie would take pictures of nature in all seasons. In summer, he photographed spider webs by picking them up with sticky coat hangers. In autumn, he tied the grasshoppers to flowers overnight so he could photograph them covered with dew. The main idea here is he wanted to photograph a difficult or unusual subject, and Willie found creative solutions to do this. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorite. He gave copies away or sold them for a few cents. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. He held evening slideshows on the lawns of his friends. Children and adults sat on the grass and watched while Willie projected the slides onto a sheet hung over the clothesline. It says many colleges and universities bought lantern slide copies of his photographs and added to their collection each year. Artists and designers used the photographs to inspire their own work. So why do you think artists and people at the universities found Willie's photographs so valuable? Why do you think they thought they were valuable? Well, no one had been able to photograph snowflakes before Willie did. So the information in the images was new to people who study water, snow, and ice crystals. Willie's photographs showed more detail than people had ever seen in a snowflake before. So artists probably saw new kinds of shapes and designs that they wanted to use in their own art. Okay, so he wrote about snow and published his pictures in the magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood watchers. "You are doing great work," said a professor in Wisconsin. The little farmer came to be known as the world's expert on snow, the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny on his pictures. Willie said that there were treasures in the snow, and I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm, he said. I never know when I will find a wonderful prize. Now, other scientists raised money so Willie could gather his best photographs in a book. And when he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published, and still he was not ready to quit. Less than a month after turning the first page of his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard to make more pictures. He became ill with pneumonia after the walk, and he died 2 weeks later. So what details on these 2 pages, 396 and 397, that help us see that Willie was unusually dedicated to his work? What shows that he was unusually dedicated to his work? Well, he spent more money making his photographs than he made from selling them. He believed he shouldn't miss a single snowstorm, and even after he published his book, he still didn't stop taking photographs. He even risked his health by taking pictures during a blizzard, which in conclusion ended up taking his life. Now a monument was built for Willie in the center of the town. The girls and the boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters the story of the man who loved snow. And 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked up to set a museum in honor of the farmer scientist. And his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont, past mountains, over the earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know of the icy wonders that they land on their own mittens, thanks to Snowflake Bentley. Now it says the plaque on the monument says, Snowflake Bentley, Jericho, world's famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal the world the grandeur and mystery of the snowflake, its universal hexagonal shape, and its infinite number of lovely designs. So now let's summarize how Snowflake Bentley lived his life. How do you think he lived his life? Let's think all the way to the beginning of the story. How did he live his life? Well, as a child, Wilson Bentley was curious about nature and loved to learn. He had a great interest in snowflakes. When he saw how beautiful snowflakes are under a microscope, he dedicated his life to sharing that beauty with the world. With a special camera, he spent many years improving the quality of his snowflake photographs, and he lectured and published a book about snow crystals. So therefore, we've got a beginning, a middle, and an end to his life, and Snowflake Bentley did a lot for this world. With that, we are now at the end of our story, and I would like to conclude this link. However, if you have further questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me.